real speakers, real coaches, real investors, real companies. No matter your destiny, all roads lead to Real Leaders Unite.
Hello everybody, I am Carla Calagaritas. I'm editor of Real Leaders magazine. I'm here with Mr. Stedman Graham, one of our speakers here at the Real Leaders Unite conference in San Diego. Welcome, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, and he just finished a presentation to a wonderful packed room of very authentic, interested, passionate entrepreneurs and founders of impact companies. And your presentation centered around identity leadership, which is really core to who you are, isn't it, as a business leader?
Yeah, it's real. It's my narrative. Identity leadership is self-leadership. It's based on the philosophy that you can't lead anybody else until you first lead yourself. And so I just love telling people, you know, you want the answer to your problem, work on yourself.
Yeah.
So work on yourself, work on yourself, work on yourself is the answer. So the more you have, the more you can get back to society. Yeah,
and it's, you know, it's an interesting concept to work on yourself, because you talked in your presentation about this sort of background music that goes through somebody's head about who they are, right? And I'm wondering if you have some advice about, you know, people who have a person who's maybe been marginalized or stuck in that race box or economic box, right? Or lack of education box. How do they break that background music that is so negative?
Yeah, I have a 9-step success process that I take people through. That teaches you how to self-actualize your potential, how to organize yourself around yourself, how to take information and education and make it relevant to your talents, to your skills, to your abilities, and what you love. And so that kind of shows them a step-by-step process of how to empower themselves. What I learned throughout life is that the process of success is the same for everybody. The difference is some people know it, some people don't. Most people are doing the same thing over and over every single day. They wake up in the morning, they wash their face, they brush their teeth, they get some meat, they get the kids off school, work all day, come home in the afternoon, they spend time with the family, they watch TV, they go to bed, maybe they dream that's Monday, and they repeat that same process over and over every day. And so they're stuck. And they don't know who they are or who they can become. They have no process for getting out of that routine. Nothing wrong with a routine, but you got to develop a process for continuous improvement so that you're actually growing, as opposed to not learning, not thinking, not designing, or not building your future. And so we show you actually how to do that so you can perform at a much higher level in your personal, professional development.
Okay, wonderful. You know, you talked about self-esteem in your presentation. And you mentioned sports was something that had given you self-esteem. We talked about the, you know, how you create self-esteem and how that kind of fuels you and gives you confidence, right? As you go through and try these different ideas and businesses that you have in mind. What have you seen work to help build self-esteem?
Well, I think love, having love as the foundation of your existence and your thinking, and being able to develop and practice those things that you're good at, that you love, that you're passionate about, your purpose, what's meaningful for you, is the foundation for organizing content so that you can empower yourself and be better at what you decide you want to do every day, you know, so that you can kind of organize, you know, and put together a list of things that you can set goals around, develop a vision around, organize content around, build relationships around those things that make you happy. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that's like a driving force. It drives you. Somebody has to drive the process, and it should be you. Somebody has to break the cycle in your family. It should be you, if you understand how to do that.
Is everybody a leader? or when you're going through this searching of who am I and what's my identity, is everybody a leader, or do some people have other roles that are also equally important?
Everybody can practice self-leadership, which is the key. I mean, you got to work on yourself every day anyway, hopefully.
Right.
So to teach you how to do that, I spent all of my life trying to figure out, how do I get beyond the labels? How do I get beyond the family circumstances I had to go through? How do I get beyond being put into a box based on my relationship? How do I define myself as opposed to having other people define me? Mm-hmm. How do I self-actualize my potential? How do I utilize the resources of the world and apply those resources to my development? And how do I use technology as a way to develop a process for continuous improvement every day, so that I can grow and develop and build and create, and so it's all in you. Yeah. You have the power to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And there's a process for that. It doesn't happen just because you want it to happen. It happens because you understand how to do that.
Yeah. A lot of people go through life either they're young and they've come up through some tough times, like you've talked about in your personal experience, or maybe they're older and they've just felt they never really got their shot, that there was a lot of external pressures that kept them from what they should be doing. And I'm wondering, when it comes to success, what is the biggest barrier? Is it all of these external pressures and boxes that we get put in, or is it that narrative that we are telling ourselves?
I would say the biggest barrier, number one, is we don't love ourselves. We don't care about ourselves. We don't know how to do it. The learning system is backwards. It just teaches you how to memorize, take tests, repeat the information back, get labeled with a grade. 2 weeks later, you forget the information. So you're not really learning anything. You're not growing. You can't segment and organize your life. Organization is the highest level of development, so you're not organized. And you pretty much probably self-sabotage your life because of the storyboards and the story that's going around and around in your mind that's really a part of your subconscious. And you can't get out of it because you don't know how, and you're stuck in that historical baggage. Our parents did the best they could based on what they knew. If they'd have known better, they'd have done better. So what did we learn that we can move forward and that will allow us to look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty? So you're looking at the glass half empty or half full? Or you focus on the negative or the positive? And so love, being positive, knowing who you are, organizing your life, being proud of yourself, having self-care, that's the foundation for everything that's good.
How do you like to learn? You talked to us this morning about your own professional development and that you are a continual learner. What are some of the ways that you have found work best for you when you want to learn something new?
I segment my life based on my passions and my talents and my skills. So I do an inventory of who I am and then who I want to be. Then I organize all of that based on my vision for myself. Who can I become? And I write those things down. And I begin to dissect those things and then build a culture around those things based on information and knowledge. And so it's a beautiful process because you get a chance to do more because you know more. And you're able to develop a self-directed learning process, which allows you to personalize your learning, which will empower you in the 24 hours that you have every day, which is what makes everyone equal. Everybody has 24 hours. The question is, how are you organizing your 24 hours around the information that's relevant to your growth and development?
You work with children as well, which was something I didn't know until you mentioned it in your talk. You work with K through 12 and college age young people around this concept of identity leadership, and I'm
also
curious.
Corporate,
and corporate, of course. Yeah,
corporate.
Somebody's got to pay the bills, right? The corporate.
Well, it works. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. But I'm thinking about the children, the young people. What is your message to them when you're talking to a room full of young people that maybe have been put in that race box or an economic box, versus you're talking to a room of young people that maybe have had more privileged lives. Is the message the same, or do you change it?
The process is the same. It starts with, finding out who you are, your identity, which is based on what you love and care about, organizing that. Again, you want to change the language, so the language is different. When I work with young people, we focus more on what do you love in your life. We don't go take them through the whole 9-step success process. And so they know what they love, and they can rattle it off, and they can organize it and all of that. So to get them thinking about what's possible for you, who can you become in one of the greatest countries in the world, which is America. You're lucky to be here. We have systems that work. We have opportunities. Buses pick you up to take you to school. We have libraries. We have a source of information. We can download content. We can download, information from technology. We can communicate to people all over the world. So you couldn't have a better opportunity than to live today if you know who you are, if you understand how to source that content. So once you teach them that, man, they have the energy, they have the drive, they have the potential, and they have the years. So if somebody is 10 years old, they got 80 years to develop a process of continuous improvement. I mean, that's a long time to self-actualize. You're going to be very successful, throughout those years.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are maybe approaching the twilight of their lives and their careers, and maybe they've lived a whole life, putting food on the table and never really felt that they got to be who they were, or maybe haven't had the chance to figure out who they were? Is it too late for them, or what's your message to those folks?
I like it because they have more resources. They have more experiences. They get it quicker. So if they can just reverse the process of how they learn, begin to focus on themselves every single day to build value. The value that you give yourself is the value the world gives you. The world sees you as you see yourself. That starts right today. So how do you become better at every single thing that's possible for you? And you should be able to do that pretty good because you've been in the world a long time. You know a lot of people. You have access. You're smart. You have access to a lot of resources. You
have wisdoms.
Yeah, it's organizing those resources is relevant to your empowerment.
So it's never too late.
Never too late.
That's good news. All right, just to wrap up here, what is your definition of a real leader?
I think a real leader is focused on what they do well all the time. I think a real leader stays in their lane. I think a real leader organizes the culture of their field, their background. I think a real leader builds legacy. I think a real leader understands their ability to make a difference in the world. I think a real leader wants to give back. I think a real leader tries to help other people. I think a real leader tries to share their gifts and their talents and their abilities with other people to enhance their value. I think a real leader takes charge. I think a real leader probably can be very quiet but very powerful. Is thinking behind the scenes, doesn't run their mouth all the time, and I think a real leader makes things happen.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here, for presenting to us, and for staying engaged with our audience over these next few days.
My pleasure.
Thank you very
so
much.
My pleasure.
All right.
All roads lead to Real Leaders Unite.